All right, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Happy
Oh,
Wednesday.
yes. Hump day.
Welcome back to another Two Lawyers Talk Legacy. Today we got a good one for you. We're going to talk about some straight foolishness
Oh boy.
um, because, as you know, nothing is better than the foolishness to give you a little juice during the day. Um, But wanted to check in with you guys. I know that we've been having some scheduling changes as we're going through this process, but we're glad to have many of you still sticking with us and
Thank
checking
you.
in. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, please make sure that you are clicking on that like button, clicking on the subscribe button. Make sure that you are on notice for our episodes. Check our
Mhm.
community page. We're going to try to keep you guys connected as we make some slight adjustments to our schedule and try to find a sweet spot because, that's what happens in life. We get to that point. But just wanted to check in with you guys. Thank you so much again for tuning in and hoping that you are enjoying some of the stuff that we're putting out as we're going through this process together. So
Yes.
let's get into the meat of it. Today we are talking legacy and
Yeah.
we are chatting about Chrisean Rock, Blueface, and the darn baby. And
And
shout
the
out
baby.
Shout out to our folks. Doug is already in the building. Doug, I know you've been looking
Rico.
for us, and we trying, child. We trying. Rigo, how you
Shout
doing?
out
Long
to
time
you,
no here.
Virgo.
Rigo said, "What's the music of the day, child? Well, we'll find some in the process.
Lord.
We got to find some music for the process."
Yes, we do.
Um, and Rigo says, "When is the next vendors event to be held again?" I don't even know. I think Lisa and I are going to be doing some calendaring soon. So, as soon as we can get that together, we'll talk
Yeah,
about some vendor time.
definitely.
Uh, All right, so let's get into it. If you haven't click like, click share, click subscribe. Make sure you're tuned in. We invite you and encourage you to support us. Our subscriber count is trickling, but we are encouraging you to help us in that trickle down process. Now,
Yeah, we're trickling up though. We're trickling up though.
we're trickling up. We're going in the right direction. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the foolishness today. Here goes our topic of conversation because you know, the Wednesday wouldn't be complete without trying to figure out what's wrong with people and why they go through the things that they go through. But I'm pretty sure at this point, if you are a social media person, you have seen this face, you have seen this face, and you've probably seen them and their drama and the baby. Krishan Jr. is basically the baby's name. So,
Such a
you know,
cutie pie. Such a cutie.
why is it important for us to talk about these characters and the things that they go through? It's because we as a society, we entertain them, right? And as social media personalities, and I think they have them both listed as American rappers, but I can't tell you a song that I've heard or seen. And I, for the most part, the two of these characters, Krishan Rock and Blueface, have been that on and off couple that has circulated in the social media streets, that has kept the blogs busy, has kept live streams busy. Krishan even live streamed her birthing process, I believe,
Wow.
on Instagram. And
Wow.
so the importance of today is not really focusing on the two characters, it's just really giving some light to situations that we deal with on a regular basis and we see in our practices and in the work that we do. So, Krishan Rock is now with child. She is not married to Blueface. They are both entertainers in their own right. They are both heavy into social media, and their story plays out in different reality shows. And now that they have brought a baby into the world, it becomes a whole new conversation, right? Because
Mhm.
this is the classic situation of unmarried with child, two people who are making money, two people who have a legacy that is still being written. And the question comes with what's the plan for this type of scenario, right? What types of things do you need to keep in mind if you decide to be in a situation with someone and you bring a child into the world? And now there's question marks about how do you properly prepare for this child in the event that something happens to you, because as we know, anything can happen at any time, right? Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So who's doing any type of planning? Who's planning for, you know, protecting this child? How are they going to do that? Are they doing it as single persons going to continue, or are they going to get married? Are they going to, create any type of funds for the baby's welfare and future benefit, or are they just going to rap about it?
I don't know. I haven't heard any raps. Rigo says they are just doing this for publicity, and I hope they do a will and estate for the baby. And he also says, "Isn't she Chris Rock's daughter?" Just wanted to know. I don't believe this is Chris Rock's daughter, not to my knowledge. We can look a little bit about their bios and see what's going on there, but to my understanding, the two of them are not married, and in fact, what's actually happening is there's been some arguments on social media. Here's a recent story where Blueface is calling her out because she made their son an Instagram page and she added a booking email for their son. And here's the Instagram page that was created for their son. Beautiful baby, of course. Um, but nonetheless, looking at Instagram, you see that bookings and inquiries, Chrisean Rock Music at Gmail, and it
Wait, this
says
is the
it's
baby?
this is the baby's page. It
The
says
baby
it's
has 925,000 followers.
and only two posts for sure. So I mean, looking at this situation, there's so many things. Look at the baby being dedicated, on their seventh day of being on this earth. And I don't know who that is. I don't know what church this is. But as you can see, over 1 million likes on this post of the baby being dedicated at a church.
So,
So
but this does this translate into, okay, fame? Yes, but can it translate into some type of economic, um, situation for this child's benefit? It sounds like it could.
I mean, it definitely could. I think where the conflict comes is when mother and father are not on the same page, then there becomes a question of who's managing this child's money. You have a child that potentially could make a sizable amount of money. And as we both know, the tax man wants they share no matter what. And then there becomes a question of who's permitted to manage the child's money. In this instance, definitely the two parents should be doing some planning in terms of making sure they have an arrangement for child support, time sharing. The family courts could be consulted, or they can work with their attorneys and privately come up with a plan and make sure that there's an arrangement in place so that we don't end up involving the courts, but
Absolutely.
instead making sure that we're providing, but also making sure that each of these parents consider the fact that they each need to have some estate planning in place so that if something were to happen to either one of them, they individually decide where their legacy is to be spent and divided and organized, so that it's not left to the other parent to have to open a guardianship and deal with that. Now, Rigo says, got to get the baby bank account up to par, and they started a company with the baby. This is an upgrade from back in the day when you used to put the phone in the baby's name. I mean, that's definitely an upgrade. Having the phone in the baby's name is not the thing that we need to be leaving as a legacy.
Ruining
Uh,
those babies' credit before they turn 18 years of age. But no, I think this is something they definitely have to think about. I wish more couples who are known on social media would spend time talking about the real issues that they have to think about when they bring a child into the world,
yeah,
especially when they're not married. I mean, don't you think that these conversations really should have started before that baby was ever born? That they should have been thinking about how are we going to make sure that our child is taken care of for life, never has to want for anything. How are we going to stack some funds and some chips that even if we hate each other,
right.
that we're going to make sure that it doesn't affect our child's well-being and what happens for this child in the future. I mean, you have to think like that because
Yeah.
the two folks might love each other today, but tomorrow they might hate each other. But guess what? That child is going to still be there, and the love for that child has to remain.
Yeah, and thinking about both of them as the financial piece comes into play. Um, this is a very dangerous situation. We saw years ago what happened when Nipsey Hussle was basically killed, and there was an issue with his daughter as to who was going to be the guardian over her monies, right? Because the daughter would have been technically one of the main beneficiaries in addition to his other children, but she was a minor. And so when you have somebody with sizable amount of money and royalties and things that are coming in, there has to be a plan in place. There has to be someone designated in advance to be their guardian just in case, or better yet, maybe setting up a trust to make sure that there's a trustee that's going to manage anything that's coming into that child's name. So in the case of Chrisean and Blueface, it's very important for there to be a conversation now, even if they're not on the same page, but they each need to consult with their attorneys and make sure that whatever they have is prepared. And in particular, on the side of Blueface, he has more than one child. So he
Hmm.
has a child with another woman as well. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he has some other children, but there has to be a consideration for what happens with the children and how monies are to be divided so that you don't have to bring in the courts and spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, Doug
Right.
says that sounds great if people were not running around acting off of primal instincts. Absolutely. This is the resulting issue here is just there's no plan and then there's no consideration for what could happen.
So the thing is that if they don't do these things that we're talking about, which I think are they're not even all that sophisticated. All you have to do is think it through that you have to protect your child and make sure they have a leg to stand on. But if they don't do these things, I mean, it looks like she'll be stuck with going to child support court and seeking some type of child support order against him officially,
Right.
and that's probably as good as it's going to get unless they agree to do some other things to protect this child's interests.
Yeah, I mean, it could get really bad, and that's why a lot of times we have these conversations to talk about what is your legacy, what are you trying to leave for tomorrow, and if you have children, or if you're married, or if you're not in a relationship, and you have issues, you need to make sure that you kind of take care of those issues now, and not wait until later to figure things out because you put yourself in a very bad position after the fact. So it's really not a good thing to just leave these things to chance because you just create a situation where others, like judges and other lawyers, have to be involved in your life when in reality, you don't even want that to be a part of your life. Um,
Absolutely.
so, I'll give you an example. Looking at this situation with the baby having the Instagram page and the booking email. The question is the money coming in for Krishan, or is the money coming in for the baby? And as the father, he may have some concerns about that and want to be involved in that process. But you and I both know, Lisa, if the father is not acknowledged legally as the father, there becomes some issues about whether he has rights to even speak on behalf of the child.
Absolutely. So, it's easy. We always are going to know who the mother is. That part is not going to be hard to figure out. But for the father, your rights start when paternity is established. So when you have been legally recognized as the father, that's when your rights start. And before that, you don't really have those rights.
Absolute. So we wanted to make this a quick and short chat. Obviously, if you guys have any questions and want to chat about some different issues, please don't hesitate to drop some things in the chat. Doug says that money is going to the mother. I mean, in many instances, it does. And, we've had conversations in the past about child support and the abuses that happen when it comes to child support, and people not recognizing that child support is supposed to be for the child. And unfortunately, Many fathers don't realize they may be entitled to child support based upon the circumstances and who's caring for the child and how many, nights, the child is spends with each parent. Um, so
But
it's a tough one.
that's a tough one. But the thing I don't like to hear, look, if the money is going into the mother's household and she is presumed legal custodian of the child because the father's paternity has not been established, that's where the money needs to go into the to that mom's household, unless she puts it aside, like you suggest, possibly for the child. However, she supports the child. If the child is living with her, she's paying rent or a mortgage, she's paying utilities, she's taking the child back and forth to the doctor. No one should be questioning that, in my opinion.
I think the only conflict I have with that, Lisa, is when you're using the child to make money and the money is not going to the care of the child. Because a lot of times people are manipulating situations, like they're manipulating relationships, they're manipulating, the birth of a child, and they're benefiting from it, but there's no benefit to the child, right? Because you see a lot of situations where people are neglecting their children and then they're living the good life, right? How many times do you count when you see a child out with their parent, the child looks raggedy and the parent looks great, they're living a good life. They got their hair done, nails done, and you look at the child and you're like, why does the child look like that? Um, it gives me a little pause when I see people using children in that way. And I'm
Yeah,
not saying that that's the situation here. I don't know
yeah.
where this money is going, but
Because this child is going to be Gucci down, Louis Vuitton down, Adidas, whatever type of, you know, status symbol, clothes, everything. You know what I mean? So you already know that situation won't fit this particular child.
yeah,
I think sometimes you can ruin a child though before you know it's like you're putting them out there and exploiting them before you give them an opportunity to grow up. I mean that part, it just doesn't feel right to me.
well, Girl says Blueface needs to change his name to Redface because the money will go to the mother, but no, it should be monitored to make sure the baby gets what is needed for the child. I mean, I think, unfortunately, when you have these situations, when you have two folks who are probably making sizable amounts of money due to their reality television and, all of their antics on social media, they're both making a little bit of change, right?
Yeah.
The question is, who's the caregiver for the child? Technically, they're both supposed to be. But the question is Chrisean letting him see the child? Is he wanting to see the child? Are there any conflicts between the two of them about time sharing with the child? I know that Blueface was not present when the child was brought into this world. And I think it was a restriction placed on Chrisean, was like, no, you're not going to be there. But I also think that they've had some back and forth. They had a very rocky relationship all throughout. They've always been on social media with shenanigans and foolishness, and sometimes people wonder: is it a publicity stunt? Are they being real, or are they just playing us? Because look, we're talking about them right now, and they're in articles, and they're on social media doing live streams and talking. And Blueface is with some other woman right now who has a child as well, that was born not long ago, and we see some dynamics with them. So it's a hotmess.com. I just hope that at some point there is a coming to real life conversation on each side where they actually acknowledge that you're going to mess up this child's life if you both don't get on some kind of page together.
That's right. You said it. You said it, Sandy B. Get on some type of page together, because at the end of the day, what type of legacy are you creating? Yes, you're making money hand over fist, but what are you building for the future, and for whom? And how are you doing it? And how consistent are you in that building process? You see?
Yeah,
Those are those questions, and it's no telling what he might be doing. They might be going to Vegas every week, just blowing all their dough.
yeah,
Nobody might not be putting much of anything into the bank. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's these are the things that people, it's easy to ignore until you realize how much you lack, and how much you're without, and how much you don't have, and how much you could have done had you been wiser.
I like what Doug is saying. Doug says, I know who they are, but still don't know what they do exactly. I just see them in headlines. I wonder if Blueface has even seen the child yet. I don't know if he's seen the child yet. I'd probably have to look some more on social media because all I've seen is comments from him, upset about what she's doing with the child because she's been out and about with the child within the first 7 days of birth, right? Just out and about, circulating, going to different things.
And
Um,
COVID is running rampant out there. You got to be careful.
I'm still in recovery. It's been a couple of weeks and I'm still trying to kick this cough and some of these extra residual feelings. So, and I've had it 3 times.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's still out and about. And I'm very surprised when I see people with infants circulating. But, again, this is sometimes what happens when you have a child with somebody that you are not with, that you are not on the same page with. Um, they both, to my understanding, are supposed to be rappers, but I hear more about their reality television stunts than anything else. I know they have a reality show, um, Crazy in Love or something, on one of these networks. I forgot what it's called. Um, but yeah, Doug, honestly, I don't think any of us really know what they do because I know them more for their social media antics and their reality television stunts. So I don't know. They could be, for all we know, they could be playing us. They could be in the backdrop saying, "All right, look at these fools. They still talking about us. They keeping us relevant." I don't know.
Yeah, that's very possible too. All we do is we're just looking at what their lives look like before us, and we're commenting on that. But
Yeah,
they made themselves public first before we did. So,
yeah. I mean, they're in the headlines, and they do what they have to do. Doug says, "Wow, good to hear you're better, Sandy." Yeah, I'm
yeah.
getting there. I don't know how I keep. I know how I keep getting this. It's coming from the school system and my nephew and these germs that circulate with the children. Thank you, children, who keep spreading it. Um,
That's right.
or better yet, the adults who keep sending them to school being sick.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to consider. And the big key here is when you are with someone that you're not married to, you bring about so many legal issues. And unfortunately, there's not simple answers if you don't have a plan beforehand. So if you're being reactionary to the things that are happening and you're not being proactive, you're creating a reason for the courts to be involved. You're creating a reason for lawyers to be involved. You're creating a reason for you to be arguing with your child's mother or your child's father about whether the child can go to school to a certain place, where the money that comes for the child can go, what's spent on the child, who has to pay
Yeah.
child support.
And the father might file some type of legal action to enjoin the mother from the child having an Instagram page. You know what I mean? That might cause some type of risk of harm potentially to the child, just by his identity being so public, and they're on celebrity status. So I mean, you really have to think these things through. What type of legacy are you creating for your family? And how do you protect your children? And
So
even with social media, how do you protect your children?
So we have a comment here. He's not allowed to leave Cali as of yet because of his attempted murder case and CPS, but she does have a restraining order against him. So again, look at these issues that kick in, right? When you have a lot of conflict between mother and father, and now you have a baby that's in right smack in the middle of all of this. Now, God forbid, think about this. What happens if something happens to Blueface or something happens to Chrisean? This child is a direct heir of whatever it is that they have. And so you will have situations where, all right, God forbid something happens to Blueface. He's receiving monies. He has another child. He has another woman in his life. Chrisean, is obviously the one with the child. She is the one that is kind of calling the shots right now. What happens? Courts, lots of money spent, lots of money wasted, money lost.
I think the
Um,
first thing he should do is go and buy like $1 million life insurance policy, for the benefit of this child. Honestly, you know what? Anything could happen to him, and that right there will provide some type of immediate financial resource for that child
right.
for the duration for for a long time to come. But those are if you're not going to be together and you're going to move on, at least put something in place to protect that child's legacy and to grow it, right?
Yeah. So Glenita says the fact that she said she doesn't want the fact that he said he doesn't want anything to do with the baby, he should just be quiet. And she said also he said if she has the baby, she will be fully responsible for her child. Now again, this goes back to their relationship. They've had up, down, twist, turn. They're together, they're not together, they're together, they're not together. She has a big old tattoo on her neck of his face. I mean, on her neck. And I know that there was some talk about her possibly getting that removed.
Hmm.
Um, you know, he really did not demonstrate that he wanted anything to do with her or that baby. This is him over here chilling. And honestly, she has not been clear. In many ways, she's been saying a lot of different things and acting like she's not with him, she's moved on, and then you see her arguing with people on social media. So it's just a really crazy situation, and the fear always here is there is a child in this mix. There's a child in this mix. So, personal notes for you guys. We as two attorneys who deal with legacy and the work that we do, we encourage you to make sure that you organize your affairs and take some lessons from these celebrity stories. When you're not married to someone, there's documents that you need to get organized to make sure that you, as the parents, have something in writing about your time sharing with the child, about child support, and making sure that you don't just give someone money and call it child support. You need to have an organized plan. Consult with an attorney, consult with professionals who can make sure that you have a plan that counts. Because what you don't want is to be constantly giving someone money and then you end up in court and they don't count anything that you've paid.
True. And I want to say to Chrisean, one thing that she can do, she can at least prepare her last will and testament right now because they're not married. She can name who the legal custodian will be of the child, the legal guardian. She can name those things right in her will, so that it will be clear who will be taking care of the child and protecting the child's financial interests, if something were to happen to her. So I hope that she does some estate planning even right now.
Yeah, I mean, Doug just said he was denying the baby for a while. That's an important reason for her to make sure that she gets with her lawyer. If you're on reality television and you're making money off of social media, you should have a legal team to make sure that your things are in line and that you take care of all of the things. Glenita says he doesn't want anything to do with the kid. He just wants to torture her. Thanks for pronouncing my name correctly. I'm pretty good with names. He was very clear. He said, I'm going to make sure she lose her baby. Ugh, that's
Oh
not a
my
good
God.
thing.
Oh my God. Speaking of legacy, I'm sure it's going to be really nice when this child learns how to read and goes back and see all this crap that both parents have been like blasting against each other in social media. Talk
Yeah,
about creating dysfunctionalism.
this relationship has been crazy. I've been looking at a lot of different stories on social media. We'll probably have to do a follow up on this story. Rigo says Blueface trying to be he Papa was a Rolling Stone, making kids all over the place. This is why the ladies that get with Blueface will make them red face when they find the baby is on the way. I mean, I'm noticing a trend with a lot of folks that are in the social media space, just having babies all over the place. And I don't know if they have an agenda. I don't know if they just don't care. But when you are having babies all over town, you're creating a really complicated life for your kids because now your kids have siblings all over town. And if the families aren't connected and these kids are not learning about each other, you just create some very crazy situations, man. And you make it hard for your kids to have a steady life and a stable life. And that legacy becomes a legacy of trash because you're
Right.
just all over the place and you don't give your kids some stability.
So I think Rigoberto made a comment about putting utility bills in your baby's names. Now the next thing is putting your kids on social media and messing up their social media image before they have a chance to form it themselves.
Lord. Well, Glenita says that her godfather is a lawyer. That's why he made her get sole custody, and her godmother is now her financial advisor. She's going to be okay. Well, guess
Okay.
what? You got
Okay.
the lawyer in the family giving some guidance. I
That's
think that that's a
good.
real
Yeah.
setup for some success there.
Yeah.
I'm hoping on the Blueface side. I know that he's saying he doesn't want to be involved in the whole nine, but guess what? You're going to be involved at
You're
some point,
going to be involved,
whether
sir.
you
You
want
were
to or not.
involved when you dropped that seed. So you will remain involved for about, maybe about just about 18 years or so.
Let me tell you something. You're going to find yourself involved, and you're not going to want to be involved, but guess what? You're going to be involved. So guys, I don't know if you guys have any questions. It's we've hit some soft spots here in this situation. Let's see what Doug says. He says it's so weird. It's like the people that should be having children aren't, and the people that shouldn't are having babies everywhere.
It
you know,
seems
uh,
so true. It seems true.
that there's a lot of truth to that. And what do you think about this, Lisa? People that should be having kids ain't having them.
Well, I mean, I think the ones that you would hope that are ones are smart, bright, intelligent. I think you would hope that they would have children all over the place to make this world a better place, a good place, But it just seems like, it's not that these children are bad children. It's just that some of the folks that are having them, their conduct, like, I mean, I don't want to stray because I know we're getting ready to end, but I just have a problem even with like the women who bear their breastises all out on celebrity TV, and they done had dropped 2 or 3 babies, and they're still twerking and showing all their private gushy parts, basically on television and videos and stuff. I mean, I'm like, in terms of like legacy, what you're doing to your family right there, who's really thinking about the lasting impact that will have? Or maybe that just doesn't matter in this day and age. I don't know.
Child, they don't care about the legacy. Glenita says, "This is my first time watching. I like it here." Hey, Glenita. Well,
Thank you,
Glenita, guess what?
Glenda.
We going Rigo was asking us to cue the music today, so I said, let me get the backdrop of Papa Was a Rolling Stone, because clearly we have a lot of folks out here just populating the earth. So it feels like we should be in like an old like 70s film, getting our little bell bottoms waxed up on the floor here.
Or we should have learned something by now from Papa. We should have at least took a couple of messages from Papa. That Rolling Stone didn't work out.
Oh Lord, Papa was a Rolling Stone. That's the theme for today, y'all. Papa was a Rolling Stone. All right,
Wherever
guys.
he laid his hat was his home. Hey, and you know what happened when he died?
Oh
When he
Lord.
died, all he left us was alone.
I can't. I can't. Papa was a Rolling Stone. That's the theme for today. The theme music. All right, guys, we're not going to stay too long because this is supposed to be a quick lunch chat, and of course, we always do what we do. We keep going and going because
We
we want to
overstay
chat.
our welcome every time.
We overstay our welcome. But guys, we hope you'll join us again. We had quite a few folks watching us today. We're usually going to try to get on here on Wednesdays around the lunch hour, probably about 12:30. So check our community page, click the subscribe button, click the like button. Make sure that you are checking in with us. Glenita is laughing at us about our Rolling Stone Papa. And Doug says, Glenita, welcome to the crew, because this is what we do
Yes, I
on
like.
Wednesdays.
And Glenita's on point. Like, she had facts and knowledge on this. Thank you, Glenita. Thank you, man.
Rigo says, with a name Blueface, he must have a frozen monkey brain because he thinks with the other head. And also, the ladies need to wake up and not get caught up in the celebrity ho hum. Look, we talk so much about these celebrity stories because obviously it's the only thing that gets people paying attention. But there's so many things that we can learn from these stories, and within our own lives. Even professional folks, you see stories about them with all these little scandals and the little shenanigans and having side babies and all that. So it's not only for the social media folks, it's definitely the regular everyday life too. So we just got to
Yeah.
keep in mind, what are we doing? How are we laying a legacy for tomorrow? And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please share it with
Yeah.
somebody. Let me roll us out with the Temptations. Papa was a Rolling
Oh,
Stone.
Papa was blue in the face. Blue in the face, boy.
Papa was a Rolling Stone. You know what time it is, y'all. So thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Legacy Talk, Chrisean, the baby, and Blueface. Catch you guys next time. All right, bye, guys.
Hey.